Hello YouTube, Moose Cow here with another introduction for another game of BBR3 between my friend Rick and myself. Rick has chosen an alias for himself. He will now be going by The Madman. So if you see him commenting on the BBR forums, that is him, and I go by Moose Cow on the forums as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before I get ahead of myself, as you've noticed, this is different. So we are playing a game of BBR3, and we are incorporating our house rules that we've also changed considerably since the last time we've played them. But we have incorporated our house rules that we've made up for Global 40, and we are incorporating them into BBR3 into this game. So this is very much a playtest, so we will be playing a few different things as well as trying out a few other things. So I'm just going to go over what we're doing differently. And first things first, we're doing the Spanish Civil War, or we actually already did the Spanish Civil War with a nationalist outcome. We're still working on this, we kind of want to see how it pans out with everything with this game, how it translates and everything. Again, this is like a playtest, so expect a separate Spanish Civil War video in the future. That will come from us once we got this locked down, and we're very, very close. But then again, we've been very, very close for a while, so constantly tweaking the things. But this is the current map setup as we have been doing for it, the current side map. I've been talking to Matthias Gregerson, who has collaborated with Lieutenant Dan on Chain and Sired Blood, I guess, as well, in terms of adding a lot of the detail on the map for Lieutenant Dan's map. So I've been talking, kind of brainstorming with him, having some sessions, and we've been talking about this a lot. And so because of our correspondences, we've added this extra territory of Aragon. Now, just to kind of do a little comparison, here's a couple older versions. So this was the first version we made, right? We only had 6 Spanish territories, mainland territories. And then we changed it to this, so you kind of see the differences. And we condensed France because it doesn't have any play. We condensed North Africa because it doesn't really matter. And we had the Sahara Desert there still. And now we've made it, in order to incorporate another territory, we initially tried 2 territories, but adding 2 was just too much. So this is the previous version. You can see there's C-Zone 94 and stuff. We've cut that out. We've zoomed in, so Spain is as big as it could possibly be. And we've also shrunk the corner of Portugal just a tad bit from how it is normally. And then Spanish Morocco has changed styles as well on our side map. So that's where we're at right now. Oh yeah, and we gave an IPC back to Portugal because we've chosen to incorporate Portugal to a degree. It didn't come into play this turn, but anyway. And then this is a little overview. Here's my Spain box. So yeah, we got a Nationalist Victory during the Spanish Civil War. We've already played that out, did that yesterday. Here's a bunch of the not all of them, but here's a bunch of the casualties from it. I had to take a bunch of the nationalists out, but anyway, so there were more nationalist casualties than that, but just had to throw that out there. And then the consequence of that is that this is what Spain is looking like. So Spain has a few ships left, a healthy 3 AAA, and 11 infantry on the mainland there, and 1 guy in Spanish Morocco. So this isn't going to come into play until Germany gets the Reich point, or sorry, Germany and Italy reach the Reich point. Once they reach the Reich point, Nationalist Spain can then choose to join or not, depending on the situation. And if Germany Germany takes over London, then Spain can decide to enter or not as well. So every time that the Reich point is reached, then Spain can choose if it wants to enter the war or not. But depending on the situation over here, they may not want to. We are also playing with our Vichy France rule, which will start off a chain effect after Paris and Normandy, not just Paris, but it has to be Paris and Normandy, Bordeaux. After they both fall, southern France will become kind of a pro-Axis thing, and then Germany or Italy can activate them, and it'll set off a chain reaction for all the territories except French Equilateral Africa, we will be playing with Free France having a limited economy where, because they didn't properly surrender. So French Equatorial Africa will get a lend-lease in this sea zone. So we're adding a lend-lease, and then that will determine what additional units France actually gets. So if they roll a 1, they get an artillery. If they roll a 2, they get a mech. If they roll a 3, they get a tank. If they roll a 4, they choose between a transport or a submarine, and a 5 or a 6 is just $1 each. So, and then in terms of their limited economy, it's whatever free French territories they have on the board, that IPC value in half, rounded up. So if they have 6 IPCs on the board, they get $3 for that. If they have 7 IPCs on the board, they get 3 IPCs, or sorry, rounded down. I said rounded up, I think rounded down. So they get 3 IPCs if they have 7 IPCs on the board. They can then use that money to buy French infantry, and similar kind of to China, they can place them in any original French-controlled territory that Free France controls. So that's there. So French infantry can pop up over the board, and they'll be able to get units. You know, you want to be. We have French submarines and French mech and tanks. We get 1 tank there, but we never get to use these pieces basically, and submarines and transports. So they're going to be able. This is our way of incorporating these pieces that reasonably never get incorporated otherwise. Vichy France will be able to now move and attack Free French territories only unless the Allies declare war on them. And once they do that, then they can then say if this guy becomes Free French, Vichy France. Sorry, if they become Vichy France, if they become Vichy units, and the UK declares war on them, or any ally declares war on them, then they can use this guy. They can't activate a pro-axis, but they can go in and take Transjordan then and close that strait if they want to. Vichy will only be getting these these units here, and whatever units are able to be flipped on the board, and at the end of their turn, they will get a recruitment roll of a 1 or 2, and if they get a 1 or 2, they will be able to add a Vichy unit in a Vichy territory, a Vichy infantry only, in a Vichy controlled territory. So we'll be rolling for French Guyana. We'll be rolling for all these French territories except for Equatorial Africa. Historically accurate, we wouldn't be rolling for this. I'm not sure if we're going to. I'll talk with Rick about that. We'll roll for this. If this becomes Vichy, Japan can still take it. A state of war between Vichy and Japan doesn't affect its relations with the other allied powers, as is accurate. Axis units can pass through Vichy territories. Basically, at this point, what I'm saying is very similar to our previous version of it. But we will be, so we will be, I will be making a separate video, like the Spain video. I will be making a separate video updating the Vichy rule at a later time. But we just kind of want to play test it out. And then I know we're playing BBR3, and they're already going on to BBR4. So, you know, I can only spend so much time like developing house rules and kind of coming up for things and writing down rules and getting the lingo correct and making sure everything's crystal clear. Overall, our initial impressions is that we're not thrilled about most of the BBR4 changes that have been announced so far, but we do like Thailand. So Thailand is now a pro-axis, and we're going to have Japan at 8 IPCs like how they have it to compensate that. So this is now a pro-axis territory that Japan has to enter in non-combat, and if they do that before taking French Indochina, if they do that before taking French Indochina or declaring war on the Allies, that would lose their 10 IPC bonus because of the relations here. So the 10 IPC bonus for not being at war. So we're incorporating that, and we're also moving 1 infantry from Iraq to northwest Iran, but we're also adding another infantry to eastern Iran. I know they play tested with 2 and 2 and 2 before, and that turned out disastrous. But we're going to do 2, 1, 1, 2 and see how it goes. And then we're also playing with regional activation. Since we have Turkey, we're going to play with Turkey. Granted, we're changing it a little bit so that Turkey, while not at war, doesn't add more and more units on the board. It's just, they're just this, and then they roll for the select territories that they roll at the end of the round. And we'll just kind of see how that plays out, and if war gets declared upon them, then that would make Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan pro-allies or Axis. Portugal is kind of like a Mongolian rule, because Portugal supported the Nationalist Spain in the Spanish Civil War. So if the Allies declare war on Nationalist Spain before Nationalist Spain joins, then these units automatically become Spanish units and territories. Oh, and this guy here, I'm gonna add a new dude here. But these units are going to become Nationalist Spain at the end of the combat phase of whoever attacks Spain before Spain joins the war, if they choose to do that. We are not playing with Spain and Istanbul as additional victory cities, but kind of curious about maybe doing that in the future, since they are talking about adding more victory cities to Brazil and Alaska. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but we'll see. And then, what else? Okay, we got the Dutch. Our Dutch rule is before. Nothing has changed with that. We got 2 guys here, 2 guys here, 1 guy here, 1 guy here, plus that airbase, which is Sireblood's thing. And then we got a Dutch unit here. The deal with these, if you're not familiar, is that these 2 guys, the Allies in every territory, the Allies cannot take these before being at war with Japan. And when Japan attacks these territories, the Dutch defend at a 1 instead of a 2. They don't move. They can't be moved off the islands. But once the Dutch are attacked, they defend at a 1. If the Allies, after Japan declares war, go onto these territories and take control of these territories, and then the Dutch have support, then the Dutch defend at a 2. But if they don't have Allied ground unit support, they defend at a 1. And that is because it's historically accurate that when Japan invaded these territories, because the Dutch were very, very racist with their control of these territories, there were a lot of Indonesian uprisings. And so the locals collaborated with Japan and got rid of the Dutch, but then they realized, oh, the Japanese whole thing with the Asia for the Asians, well, they're just controlling us in the same kind of way. So they eventually got sick of them a little bit too. But in terms of the taking of these territories, that is why the Dutch defended a 1, and that's why, you know, they're not just walk-ons, but they're still easy to grab. You know, so we got 2 guys here, 2 guys here, 1 and 1. Okay, and then over here we got the Dutch government in exile. That 1 guy right there, he will be staying there motionless. If the Allies take Holland in an amphibious assault, he is able to be brought over. That 1 unit is able to be brought over for free, but it has to be taken in an amphibious assault. And it's kind of similar as an idea of, like, you know, when you take Paris, Paris automatically gets 12 IPCs worth of units automatically put down there, right? So we're going to have 1 Dutch guy, like, basically have the potential to pop up here, you know? And that's it. What else? Let's see. This is, we're, like I said, oh yeah, we're playing regional neutrals. So this is now a region, this is a region, and Sweden and Switzerland are a region as well. And then once Spain enters the war and they're not attacked, Portugal will then flip to the stance with these guys. So if Spain is not attacked, then the Portuguese units revert to being a European strict neutral. So all of these will be considered the same region once Spain is actually in the war, because these guys had a pact. They had the Iberian Pact, Iberian Peninsula, and if one of them was attacked, the other would have their back. That was something they agreed on after the Spanish Civil War, and it continued into World War II. I know Portugal eventually ended up supporting the Allies and letting them land on the Azores, but I don't really want to incorporate that because I don't want to incorporate another Malta, you know. You know, maybe in the future. But that's at least the train of thought we're having now. And I'm trying to think, making sure I covered everything. I think that's about it for our house rules or expansions. Oh, very important. For the game itself, Rick flipped a coin. He will be the Axis, and I will be the Allies. So I got to prep my purchases, and then we will be getting into round 1 of combat and see what we can do and knock out this afternoon. And yeah, that about does it. So stay tuned for our round 1 recap.